Hey, I'm Josh. This is Rob. We're talking about the Wingfoil's 850S. Rob, you rode this with a wing. What'd you think? I haven't seen anybody ride it with the wing yet.
I thought it was awesome. I really did. I think I texted a friend right after where I was like, this is probably the best gliding foil and pumping foil I've been on, especially for the size. But not just for the size, like honestly, I felt like I could pump this thing as well as I pumped the Axis 1150.
That's cool.
I know it sounds like crazy, but
yeah.
I'm 200 pounds and I just got so much lift out of this foil. Even just coming off of my setup, I always have the mast all the way forward. And I put this all the way forward, but it was tons of lift. It wants to ride super high, and it's just so efficient, so low drag.
And when you breach the tips, it's not game over.
Yeah, and this little wingtip design, I think is probably the future on most foils.
Yeah.
I was testing it a little bit, like just trying to do some tacks, like hard carve so that the whole thing was out of the water. I wasn't able to like get that full feeling, but because as you know, the session ended a little bit prematurely.
Yeah.
I think this foil...
It ended with a bang.
A pop bang, yeah. I think this foil, like you said, has been tuned up a little bit.
Right, a little sharper than most.
It feels really sharp. Yeah. We touched some of the other ones that are in the production realm, and they seemed more reasonable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was being a little bit careless, and the board popped up, and it popped my wing. So that's the only con I had, I think, from the whole experience of riding this foil.
It's an expensive con, actually.
Well, I got it dropped off and it's being repaired. It's no big deal. You know me, I rip wings all the time. But, I'm mostly a freestyle guy, but as soon as I got on this, I realized I wasn't going to really even bother doing too much freestyle stuff because I didn't want to. I wanted to ride swell and just turn and pump and see what all that was all about with this foil.
Yeah.
That to me is what, you said it's the 850S and the S stands for surf.
Yep.
I think it could also be a downwind foil. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, it's designed by one of the world's best downwind foilers, right? So it's going to downwind. And I think any wing Casey and the crew come out with, it's going to be able to downwind, right? Unless they come out with one that can't, and then they prove me wrong. But a little bit about what you're saying. These wingtips, Rob, when they breach, a wingtip breach at a shallow angle. If the wingtip comes out of the water at a shallow angle, it'll actually have an easier time ventilating the air coming down inside. So as they sweep it up and the wingtip's now coming out of the water at a higher angle, it's harder for that air to get back down. So I do think that mustache profile, that mustache design where the wingtip is swept here is kind of a thing of the future, because you can get a huge section of this wingtip out and it breaches, so many percent less than... especially one that's curved the other way is not going to want to breach at all.
So this is the future, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're all going to be like that.
I think everybody's been going to it. I think we've seen Ono. Some of the Cabrina stuff is a little bit like it. Cloud9. This is the code foils. But what was the other one we just saw? There's the Skate by F1 is extremely mustached. I haven't seen that one in person yet. But they're all doing it, and I think it's great because now we get high aspect wings that roll over. I say heel to toe. If I can turn a board while I'm foiling with my heel toe pressure, as opposed to having to, remember the old Lift 170 high aspect? You just felt like you had to turn it the opposite way to get it to roll over the way you wanted to go. Kind of like it.
So what are some of the other features in this? I think that you've compared this to the Lift, the new Lift foils a few times. Is that the camber? Is that this sort of concave right here? It seems like
some of that foil design stuff goes above my pay grade, right? But I compare it to Lift because of the fuselage, the front wing assembly, and the way the fuselage looks to the mast. The mast profile to a Lift mast, the connection looks very similar. It uses two M6 bolts, very similar, tapered head. There's a lot of similarities to a Lift product, but what they've done is they've really beefed it up here. And they didn't copy Lift by any means. It's just there's similarities in that aspect of it. They beefed up the fuselage. It's almost 2 inches thick. So there's not going to be a whole lot of, I don't see any warranty claims coming out of cracked fuselages, cracked wing sections. There's a lot of material here and it looks really nice and smooth. But then the way the fuse connects to the tail is really neat too. It's bolted in, it's like an S profile, and there's a little groove in there that helps it lock in. And so you're not trying to slide something in. You're not using mallets anymore or anything like that. It just locks in really nice and tight. And then a tail. So I would say this is more akin to a Cabrina mounting style. And then the tail it has a little profile in it, but you can put with a 1 degree shim negative or backwards, you can use any aftermarket tail that has 30 millimeter bolt spacing, which is the most common. Takuma, KD Maui, Signature, Unifoil, all those guys are using 30 mil bolt spacing. So you can run your favorite tails.
But it seems to me like you might want to use the stock tail just because it's so flush.
It's designed so purely for the
everything is low drag that I'm seeing, but also a pretty solid connection. Even I noticed on the mast, when I picked it up the first time, it feels like the top here by the base plate is a little bit more material than most other masts I'm seeing.
Like a buttress.
Yeah, and dude, it really is, because I felt no wobble really at all in the wingtips when I was riding or anything like that.
I'm impressed by the rigidity of the foil. I don't feel any flex, even in powerful surf. I wasn't in huge waves, right? But when I'm pushing it and trying to pump and getting ready to kick out of a wave, usually you feel that kind of flex on a heavier bottom turn or something, and I didn't feel anything. I felt like it was great.
So the reason I brought up the camber or the shape, I don't like. Same with me. It's a little bit over my head as well, but for 850 to have that much lift, it seems to me like there's something going on with that shape to make it get going quickly and provide enough for a 250-pound guy to pump it. Or 200-pound guy.
And the attack angle is not intense. Somebody said in Australia in one of the, I don't know which forum it was or whatever, they said they measured the foil and the attack angle is 0 by their measurements. So we don't have a huge like front leading edge and trailing edge of the front wing, at a major angle here to give you that lift, which some foils do to compensate for a camber or foil design. So whatever they've done, I would love to hear from the designers, but whatever they've done is really impressive and totally efficient.
Yeah, and you think this is like a fairly fast foil?
It felt fast to me, but when I'm surfing, I don't get to the speeds you can get to on your wing, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm pumping at typically 11 to 13 miles an hour. I'm riding waves at maximum 17 miles an hour if they're under head high, right? So when I say it's fast, it's because the foils that I'm on, maybe the speed range of some of the surf wings, like a Viper, it kind of maxes out at like that 11 to 13 miles an hour if you're on a Viper 150, 170, something like that. Whereas you go to like a lift, it wants to run in that, 11 to 14 mile an hour range, like a 120, I mean. Mm-hmm. You've got different foils like to live in different speed ranges, and I think this one just naturally was faster than what I've been on right now. I've been on the Ono Foil 800, and it's a great foil. You've tested that. I felt like the Ono's a little slower, and it has a little bit more low-end lift, but it likes to live at a little bit slower pace. But now you on the wing, you could get up to 25 knots if you wanted to, and I don't know where that puts this one.
Right, and I didn't get a chance to test that, and I didn't really feel like it needed to be tested because it's not. Once I started riding it, I didn't feel like that was what it wanted to do. Comparing it to the Viper 150, I was on that in the same session right before this. I can get the Viper 150 up to like 26 miles an hour on the wing. That's where I've maxed out on there. But yeah, I've taken the M800 out and but I had to really push the M800 to get it there. I do agree this feels faster than the M800.
Yeah.
I feel like they both turn pretty well, but this feels a little faster. You might be a little bit more low end on the M800.
Right.
This took me a couple more pumps of the wing to get on foil compared to the Viper 150.
Right.
Because the Viper has a lower stall speed.
I think it just lives in a lower speed range. Yeah. And I think I noticed that in the surf, right? So where another foil, I might cruise at a slower slower pace. I just had to reset my clock a little bit to say, no, it wants an extra mile an hour faster. So don't wait so long. You know, when I kick out through whitewash, or I'm in the soup, I call it, right?
Yeah.
Don't wait so long to step on the gas again. You know, carry your speed through and then use the glide to recover your energy.
Yeah, and I really think you could glide forever on this thing, especially someone your size. I don't know what you weigh.
I'm 165. I should be 160. 155 is my target.
I mean,
so you guys can hold me accountable.
I could downwind forever if I weighed 155 on this foil, I feel like. Even at 200, I really think I could downwind, at least wing downwind. I think I could do 3 to 5 minute runs on medium-sized swell.
I think so too. We've just seen videos of James Casey. Yesterday we saw a video of him flat water starting the swing on a downwind sup board. I mean, it's killer. It's a killer foil. I'm excited. I'm actually going to be moving to this predominantly.
Really?
And I'm just going to be on the code for the foreseeable future. Just because it's such an exciting foil, and it brings to life some things that other foils don't bring to life for me.
Yeah.
The question is it enough to convert you?
Look, if I had some extra cash lying around right now to buy a new foil for downwinding and wing downwinders and surf, I probably would go that way.
Or if just two foils were laying side by side and you just got to grab one off the table, you might pick this one up
for surf and downwind for sure.
Okay.
I would. I would also sand it down a little bit.
Yeah, for your freestyle.
I'm afraid of the wingtips. The production one, it seems a little bit softer. But yeah, I would love to see how much that takes off the glide and the efficiency that is so nice about this foil. Could you sand it down a little bit just to protect my wings?
Oh, and remember, I remember one more caveat from that session you had. You told me you didn't feel like it was super fast, but we found that when you finished pumping on that wave, you took your board down and flipped it over and had to pull off a bunch of seagrass. So you might have been slowed down by some seagrass and not gotten to experience the speed that I saw.
There was a lot of seagrass that day, and you're right. There was one time I did like a pump run, I don't know, like 20 pumps or something, which for me, it's pretty good. And yeah, I get down, I flip the board over, I'm like, that didn't feel as fast as the first. The first one, I felt really like I was gliding. I flip it over, there was 2 strands of seaweed, one on the mast and one on the stab, and I was still able to pump it.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it really is. I think it's a great foil. I really do. Like it's probably my number one foil for gliding and pumping that I've tried.
That's cool. You think you'll be wingers that are progressing will be able to complete more maneuvers on this foil?
Yes, I think they'll be able to get around on the turns better. But I don't think it's so much about the maneuvers. I think it's more about 95% of wingers, maybe higher, want to go out, ride swell. Mm-hmm. That's all they want to do.
It's the dream. It's the endless wave, self-tow. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what most people don't want to do, the freestyle and the jump. It's not, it's not as big a percentage. If they want to ride swell and they're on some older generation foil, and they switch to this, they're going to say, riding swell isn't hard.
Right.
I've just been on a foil that doesn't
do it.
Doesn't do it.
Yeah.
I had the same experience when I first rode Access after riding the slingshot stuff. It was like, oh, it's not me.
Yeah.
I think that people should definitely check this out. I mean, I really do. If you're looking for a new system and you are a surf guy or downwind guy, this is really something to look forward to.
So it's like if you want a foil that pumps well, that's efficient, energy efficient, right? What you put out of it, or what you put into it, you're going to get out of it. If you want it, it's
turns well.
It's maneuverable. It's
handles
intuitive.
breaches.
It's intuitive.
It's very.
It lifts in a way that's predictable. It turns in the way that feels natural. Yeah, if you're looking for a great all-around daily driver foil, I would recommend the code. I would caveat that, right? It's not everyone's daily driver, in my opinion. No? I think you need to know how to foil first. I don't think it's a first foil. If you're looking for your first foil, I think there are bigger versions or things like that. I think it's super stable and it could be your first foil, but you got to be pretty confident.
But what about the bigger one that comes out?
I think the bigger one will do it.
It might.
I think the bigger one will actually be something you could teach lessons on and get guys into the sport. I think the 850. I think if you know how to pump, or if you have a wing to get you the speed, you're going to maintain, you're going to go, and you're going to be able to maximize that. I think this foil actually, I felt like this foil brought things out of me that I was wanting to do. It unlocked things for me. But I don't know if this foil would have helped me develop skills that I didn't have.
I tend to agree with you, at least for like that first 6 months to a year, just because the stall speed is a little bit higher too.
Yeah,
so that's going to be tougher.
It's not a slower surf, like a low aspect wing or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a high stall speed, but for a beginner, it probably would be. So do you have these in the shop?
I do. I've got a bunch of them in the shop. I can keep ordering them. You can come in and ride them. People can come and demo these things. If you want to come and try a code foil, you can come in and we'll let you ride it.
You should do it. You should ride it. Yeah, wingers, try this foil. It works.
Cool. Hey, thanks for watching.